Some time ago, I was asked about the thing I valued most. That thing would be the library table I inherited from my Auntie Cherub. I grew up in England after World War II. Auntie Cherub was the aunt of my mother's first husband, who was killed by a stray German bomb. He was mailing a letter after an air raid siren had gone off. Cherub was not her real name. The name she was born with was Olga. Auntie earned her nickname Cherub due to disposition. A petite lady from the Victorian age with tight white curls framed around her angelic face. When I was a child, the library table sat in her entrance hall, facing the lounge with its wide double doors, flanked by two enormous Kutani urns. These vases were huge. Auntie encouraged my younger brother, Tony, and I to play hide and seek in her over-large, sprawling house, and we were allowed to slither inside the priceless ceramics. The house was oceanfront, white with blue shutters, and a large shell carved above the front door lintel. Two balconies upstairs overlooked the frigid, not quite blue waters of the English Channel and the rocky pebbled beach. If my mother was present, she would swim early in the morning, insisting I accompany her, exclaiming, "Don't be a sissy, darling," as I stood trembling with cold at the prospect of entering the sea. Auntie Cherub was very proper and drawn to those with good stock and perfect manners. She lived with her housekeeper, Edna, a dark-haired, center-part with a bun at the nape of her neck, downward-facing woman. Edna spent most of her time between the scullery and the kitchen, concocting various roasts of meat and plum pies with culinary accuracy. Edna delivered afternoon tea every afternoon at 4. She wore a black uniform and with a white pinafore. Her cakes and scones were to die for. Auntie Cherub favored me over my younger brother, Tony. Tony had committed the cardinal sin at dinner in the dining room by refusing Edna's sponge pudding, asking for cornflakes instead. I thought Auntie was going to have a coronary at such a vulgar request. The table in the hallway frightened me as a child. It seemed colossal and threatening, with carved, roaring lions' heads on each corner. They were ferocious and intimidating to a 6-year-old. When I turned 9, I would spend the occasional weekend with Auntie Cherub. She took me shopping and told me I had half a crown to spend on anything I wanted. She scolded me when I handled the merchandise in Woolworths, saying, "Ladies never touch." To this day, I abide by that enforced etiquette. During my visits, distant cousins and relatives were invited for the evening. Auntie Cherub, being the ringmaster, insisted we play charades, which was jolly good fun for all and helped me out of my naturally shy demeanor. At bedtime, Edna would lock up the house like the Tower of London. Auntie had been burgled many times. I slept next to Auntie, and in the morning she informed me that I had kicked all night, but she laughed and said she didn't mind. Auntie Cherub had a fortune. She didn't talk about money, which she considered impolite. I know she staked my father in opening his business and bought his first van. She rescued my family from prolonged post-war poverty. She didn't have a family of her own. Her husband had died not soon after he had designed the construction of the wall that ran along the coastline. When Auntie Cherub passed, my mother was bequeathed a table. My mother didn't care for the Edwardian replication. The carefully carved serpentine scales embedded into the legs and trusses were abhorrent to her. My mother relegated the table to the garage, where paint splatters and a 1-inch gap appeared on the surface of the oak wood top. I inherited the table in 1993. My mother had previously told me Auntie Cherub wanted me to have custody of the table. I had the table shipped piece by piece to the USA. That table sits proudly in my living room. Books on top and in the drawer, my father's glass cutter that he used to cleverly construct glass windows for churches. The family documents, birth, marriage, and death certificates. The memory of those 4 lines on each corner is vivid, but none more so than the kindness I received from Auntie Cherub. The table has borne witness to the comings and goings of family. Some members, not relatives by blood,